So we'll move on to more of the meat of our main presentation, which is what does the Department of Infrastructure do? We have, like Adam mentioned before, we've got several different divisions in the Department of Infrastructure, one being fleet, we have road and bridge, we have environmental services, we have development and drainage, and we have road bond. We're going to try to cover all 5 of those today, which is a lot. That's a lot of material. So we're going to be as thorough as we can be, but we're also going to be moving rather quickly. We're going to try to save all questions towards the end. So if you do have anything, please write it down, and we'll save some time at the end to talk about those questions. But this will be pretty quick as far as the topics go. And we'll start with fleet. So we have a fleet division, a fleet department that they're just kind of think of them as your mechanic shop, but also maybe Discount Tire in there, also maybe O'Reilly's in there, also maybe like a heavy machinery shop. For the whole county, we have a bunch of different divisions across the county, a bunch of departments. They all have some kind of vehicles. They all have something that they're, for the sheriff's office or the constables, road and bridge. We have a lot of stuff. We have 800 vehicles that pass through the fleet for maintenance, for safety operations, for inspections, for all kinds of things. Those are 800, right? Then we also have 40 ambulances, which is another specialty type of vehicle. And then we have 400 light to heavy machinery that they also service for us. Those are trailers all the way to big, heavy track loaders and rollers and things like that. The scope of what they do is huge, I just described, but it's also the complexity. You have standard, just normal cars, or you have trucks that are just kind of everyday work trucks that are just conventional gasoline. Then you have the diesel trucks. Then you have the very large diesel trucks and the heavy machines and everything. They are very, very broad, and their scope is huge. They're also kind of a unique department because they touch kind of every piece of the county. Everyone has to interact with them to get their stuff maintained and to make sure that their vehicles are safe and they're able to operate, particularly during emergency events. We have our fleet department is a part of the emergency response team that is available to make sure that people can get to where they need to go. Emergency vehicles can get to accidents, can get to the hospital, wherever that may be. They're trying to make sure that all happens all the time. We're going to go through just some quick pictures just to show some things that they do. Here's a mechanic changing some tires on a constable's car. Moving up here, so this is a mechanic working on a road and bridge vehicle. This is a diesel vehicle, a little more complicated and a little bit different. They also help us with our heavy machinery. They're also people that have to be able to drive all these things. They got to go get that heavy piece of machinery and take it into these giant bays that are just connected to our building right over here. They replaced 1,200 tires last year, kind of the Discount Tire side. They've got banks of batteries to make sure that during our Snowmageddon events that people can turn on their car and it's going to work, and they're going to be able to get to that accident or wherever else they may be going. Here's our parts manager. We're going from big machinery, but we also have to maintain all the little things. We got to have the bolts and the nuts and everything that puts all this stuff together. They also have to have an inventory of all those things. Their scope is really, really broad. And the last thing I'll say about fleet is that we also have a fuel station here. That decision was driven for the county because several times in the past, there's been, say, a hurricane that hit Houston, something like that, that makes fuel, diesel or just conventional gasoline, difficult to get. Or there could be cases where it's completely wiped out at a gas station or something. We have all this centralized so that people can get the fuel they need. People can react during emergency events. Several years ago during the big snow event, we lost power for a week. Well, we were still able to get fuel to all of our vehicles. Our pumps could still operate because we have access to our own fuel system. That helped ambulances get to where they're supposed to be. It helped EMS, the same thing, EMS, ambulances. It helped the patrol cars, constable, helped us still help all of our citizens during an event like this. If we didn't have that, that probably would not have happened. We'd have had to shut down because we ran out of gas. Simple as that. Moving on to the road and bridge division. That's my division. we have a wide range of responsibilities, but really our primary goal at Road and Bridge is to maintain our most expensive asset, which is our roads. And I'll broaden that a little bit to say all the assets and infrastructure that's within our right-of-way. Sometimes that's fence to fence, sometimes that's a row crop to a ditch, sometimes that's a subdivision where you see a curb and gutter kind of on either side. Everything within the bounds of that right-of-way is the responsibility of Road and Bridge to maintain and to make sure it's safe to operate. We do several other things that are kind of listed here, but that's kind of our core goal. We also respond to emergencies. We also are responsible for budgeting and planning and long-term scoping of what projects need to happen. We coordinate internally within the Department of Infrastructure with TxDOT and other cities and everything else. But if you think about Road and Bridge, our whole goal is to maintain the system that we have. Within Road and Bridge, very rarely increase capacity of roadways. We very rarely add brand new roadways. That is not a function of Road and Bridge generally. Our goal is just to maintain what we have. And I'll explain a little bit more how that's a big challenge for us. Right now, we have a little over 1,600 miles of road, centerline miles of road to maintain here just in the county. That's everything outside of a city. That's not a TxDOT road. They're just county roads. If you'd stretch that out from here, it would go past all the way, it would pass New York City. That's a long stretch of road all sitting here in the county. Half of that is in subdivisions, and then the other half of that is a rural county roadway as you would kind of traditionally think of a county road. Some of those roads are in parks, very, very little, but the majority is either kind of split between a subdivision road and a rural county road. And I did say right now, it's a little over 1,600 because we always have miles added to our system. Through development, through our bond office, which Adam will talk a little bit about later, a lot of our added mileage and added capacity happens through the bond office or through development. We just, at Road and Bridge, have maybe it's a gift of getting more and more and more. This is a map that shows the last year all the way into the next several years of just the scope of what we do. I'm not going to go into most of these programs, but we kind of think of it as two different things for the roadways, for two different kind of ways that we look at it. We have preventative maintenance on roads, which means we're trying to do everything we can to this road to make sure that it stays in the condition that it is now. That's making sure that the road is waterproofed, making sure that the road is free of potholes or the edge failures, things like that. And then we have, once it gets bad enough, we have the other category, which is rebuilding a road. At some point, we have to say, well, we can't do any more preventative maintenance. We have to rebuild it now. And that's a whole different level of cost, a whole different level of effort. And so we try to do as much as we can to keep on the preventative maintenance side, because it not only saves us time and effort, but it saves the taxpayer a huge amount of dollars, because rebuilding a road is really, really expensive. So some assets that I talked about. So beyond just the roadway, which is really expensive, we have assets that go from right-of-way to right-of-way within that area. Here's just a few of them. We have a little over 330 bridges and bridge-class culverts. A bridge-class culvert is a culvert that has a series of barrels that are at least 20 feet long. But that's a separate asset. We have a bunch of cross culverts. Those are the culverts that go underneath the road that conveys water, like not the ones in your driveway, but just underneath the road. We have over 4,000 of those throughout the county. We have 20,000 signs all over the place. We have traffic signals now. 10 years ago, that number, this is 14 now, that number was closer to 3 10 years ago. So every single year, we're adding more and more and more to our system. And these are complicated things. We've got school zone flashers. These are the beacons that you see going in and out of school zones. These are just the ones that are outside of cities. So a lot of ISDs build schools outside of their cities, and we help them with the operation of those. A lot of ISDs don't have that capability, and the county steps up and helps with those. And the last thing is we have 31 miles of guardrail. That number is scattered all throughout the county, and those are usually for drop-off conditions and just for safety. Last year, or this year, our budget at Road and Bridge was $73 million. That's a significant amount of money, and almost the vast majority of that is going directly to the road. So it's either the materials and the maintenance of the right-of-way directly there, or it's the supporting things like the equipment, like the engineering services that we ask for help to try to get design plans in place so that we can therefore the next year go and do some more work on different roads. Adam will jump into this a little bit later, but I just wanted to explain real quick a major impact that we have at Road and Bridge. What you see on this map is, we'll start with the yellows. So the yellows are all developments that have come in prior to 2017. And what you'll also see in those yellows is that there's a gray outline to most of those. That means it's within a city. So most of the development that happened prior to 2017 was within city limits, which means it's not the counties. Outside of that gray is the county, and that's what you see in blue. So that blue is developments outside of cities since 2017. And overall, what this really shows is for all development that has ever happened within county jurisdiction, 40% of it has happened in the past 7 years. We have just exponential growth in the county, and almost all of that growth is not in cities. It's within counties. Adam will go into a lot more of that later when he talks about development. But as those come online, those roads are built, the infrastructure is put in place, all of that eventually becomes the county's road and bridges to maintain. And that's how our system grows. That's how we get more culverts and bridges and everything else that we've been talking about. I'm going to go through a series of pictures, just kind of showing you a little bit about the things that we do. This picture is a good example of this is a normal county road. This is County Road 282. This is south of Liberty Hill. But it highlights several different things that we maintain at Road and Bridge. You see the road right in the middle. That road is striped. That striping doesn't last forever. It has to be redone every so often. That sign has to be redone every so often because signs fade and they start peeling over time, especially when it's direct sunlight. We also will kind of do operations there. That's kind of what Adam will talk about, but that traffic operation, setting those speed limits, things like that, we also take care of. Those trees on that left side, those juniper trees, we take care of the tree trimming if that gets too close to the road, if there's a sight distance issue. All that grass is mowed by the county for safety. We also, on most roads, spray herbicide right on the side, right on just a little strip right next to the road to keep that grass from coming in, and then eventually will tear up our pavement. So we keep a little strip that we push out. That further, you can't see it real well, but that further driveway has a culvert underneath. Things that we make sure are draining and things that we jet out when we need to. Just this one little picture shows a lot of different programs that we take care of at Road and Bridge. When a road goes, either a long stretch of road or even a small stretch like this one, goes from that preventative maintenance side, we're doing everything we can to keep it from falling apart, to, it's too far gone. Then we go in and we have to dig it out. And when we dig it out, we're not just putting in material on top, because what's really the issue is the foundation. The foundation somehow has failed because it's either was maybe never designed very well, maybe it was bad material. A lot of times it has to do with water. So anytime water comes into your pavement and gets down into that foundation, it degrades really quick. That's when you get cracks and you get bigger cracks and it turns into potholes and then you'll have complete failures. That can happen pretty quick, and especially when you have heavy trucks running on your roads. In general, passenger cars, just your normal vehicle, does very little to pavements. But heavy trucks do a great deal, and especially when you have a whole bunch of them from quarries or developments or anything else. That's just the growing pains of a county. But we go in and we dig all the way down the foundation when we build all the way back up. Here's just a continuation. This is a different location, same deal. We have dug out. What you see is that's a big pile of limestone base. We'll put that out and build that road up from the bottom up. Another big piece of what we do is drainage and the conveyance of drainage. This is called a box culvert. It's just not one of the circular ones. It's just square and it's a little more structurally sound. Conveys different water, but we have that capability as well. This is a safety operation on Ronald Reagan. What you see, that truck right there has got attenuators attached to it. Those are big scorpion-looking things, and they kind of unfold them, and that protects our workers. So if someone comes off the road and they hit that absorbs all the energy, all the impact, keep the driver safe, keep our workers safe while we're out on roads that have high speeds and high volumes of traffic. Here's a good example of a road that we saw had a high need of just to be widened. This is County Road 200. If y'all have been in that area, this is in Liberty Hill. Has a lot of traffic has come onto 200 in the past 5-7 years. A significant amount of traffic. It went from a couple years ago, this 18-foot road, which you see right here. This truck is driving right in the middle because that's the safest place to drive. To us widening it just last year, so they have two 12-foot lanes. They have a nice, safe route for a good stretch of this road. That's a separate program that we have. A significant, the video worked. Good. So what you see here, one of the core functions that we have, I've mentioned this many times, is that we preserve our pavement as best we can. So what we're trying to do in our neighborhoods and in our rural county roads is we want to preserve them. And the best way to do that is to make sure your roads are waterproof. That black mat of asphalt that you see is not waterproof. It will eventually turn gray. It'll eventually oxidize. It gets real brittle, and it'll start cracking. All those cracks happen over time. Some of them you can see really easily. And we go in and we put these black lines all over the place, all over the road. That's called crack seal. We're just sealing up the biggest cracks that we can. But the smaller ones that you don't see are these little micro cracks, and they're all over your pavement when it turns this color. And so what we do, this is the best engineering solution, is we got to waterproof it. We got to make sure that water doesn't get down into that road and start degrading that pavement over time from the foundation up. And so we go in and we spray, this is liquid asphalt. It's not as hot as it looks. It's only about a little over 100 degrees. It's not like 300 degrees. It's a huge safety issue. But we spray liquid asphalt on there, and immediately afterwards, we put rock on top. So we call this a seal coat, or we're just resurfacing the road to make sure you have a drivable surface, which is that rock, a high friction surface, which is that rock, and you have the seal underneath it, which is the asphalt. We'll immediately come in, sweep up all the excess rock, and over weeks and months, that will turn into a nice tight mat on top of your asphalt, your normal asphalt as you think about it, and that waterproofs the road. And that significantly helps lengthen the life of that roadway. If we didn't do that, all of the roads would fall apart over time and the county would be bankrupt because we could never afford to rebuild all of these roads. Keep in mind we have 1,600 miles of road, and in different conditions and in various different places. So this type of work is on a cycle for us. So we try to get in there every 8, 10, 12 years to these different roads to try to do that. Another piece of what we do, and I'm almost done, another piece of what we do is make sure that water flows downhill. When you have moving soils and you have different people coming in and building new tracts of land, water can move around different places, which David will talk a lot about more later. One of the functions of Road and Bridge is to make sure that that water that's on the side of the road conveys somewhere that's not the road and not someone else's property. We don't want people to flood, and we don't want that water getting into our road and destroying our road. So we have crews that go out, and every little paint mark you see there is a different elevation to make sure that, hey, when we grade this, the water is going to flow where we want it to flow and get to the big streams and channels where it should be eventually. Now, when water flows really heavily, it'll carry all of the detritus from all kinds of places and could, like this picture shows, plug up major drainage systems. These are all corn stalks, and it's all now residing in county roadway. And if you could imagine a big flood comes in, where's the water going to go? It's going to back up. It's going to back up into people's houses and fields and whatever else. We want to prevent that. So Road and Bridge will come in, and we'll clean all this up as best we can, make sure that water flows where it's supposed to, and no one is harmed and no property is harmed because of the flood damage. Now, keep going with flood, a big thing that we see, last week, the week before, is we have these really intense rainstorms throughout the county. And we have flash flooding. We have a lot of low water crossings. We have a lot of streams and rivers that swell very, very quickly. Well, during those times, we're not out patching potholes because it's raining cats and dogs. What we're doing is we're loading up our trucks with signs just like this that say, please don't go over this crossing. It is not safe. And we'll go out and we'll put it right here. Once the waters go down, we'll go back and pick all those back up. But if y'all are going around and y'all see a sign, please do not go through it. We've seen many, many examples of people just, in their truck saying, nope, I don't care about that, and they get swept. It doesn't take much water. It's 8 to 10 inches of water will easily carry your car away. Please mind the signs if you can. This is a kind of an extreme example, but of just trees and other things can get stuck on places like this low water crossing that goes over. This is actually just east of here, right off of 29. But we'll go in and make sure this is cleared. A lot of times we'll just free it so that it can just continue down the stream. If it's too large, we'll pull it off to the side. We'll take it to the dump, whatever we may need to do. But these are the kind of actions that the county has to maintain. We have to take care of these roads. And the last thing I'll talk about is our winter weather response. One of the functions of Road and Bridge is to make sure that the roads, the most critical paths in the county, are able to be driven by our emergency services. For Road and Bridge, our level of effort on all of our roads cannot be the same during a winter event. It just cannot. We have 1,600 miles of road. We do not have the resources or the manpower to cover every road with sand to make sure there's some kind of friction on it. We don't have time or material or anything to cover every single road with chemical de-icer so that it melts. But we do maintain our major roadway systems, especially elevated structures, but we primarily focus and work with our EMS department to make sure that EMS can get to someone's house and can get to the hospital. A lot of those routes will be used for TxDOT roads, and they'll take care of those, but we take care of anything else that we can. Oops, sorry, I touched that. But we take care of anything else that we can that allows emergency services to get from point A to point B without getting stuck in a ditch themselves. So this is one of our sand trucks on one of the roads, and here's kind of an operation where you can see there's ice all over the ground, and we were just scraping it away so that people can get to where they need to be. That's all I have for Road and Bridge, really fast, but I'll invite.
You covered a lot of material. I know you said questions at the end, but.
Yeah, maybe it's better now.
Might be good.
Yeah, anybody have any questions? I'm sure they're.
Oh, I have a couple. Okay, so, I was just thinking, because when you said that y'all try to seal the roads and things like that in let's say 7 to 8 year time frame, we do that. Do y'all have a master list, so it's it's year this, so now we need to do X, Y, Z, right? So where it's organized, or is it just kind of as you get complaints and you kind of see that roads are deteriorating?
No, it's organized. We have a 5-year plan that shows every single road that we're going to touch for the next 5 years on all of our programs, and that includes our resurfacing program.
And then, so I live adjacent to a small county road, and it's half county maintained, half city maintained. Of course, the county side is better than the city, I'll say that.
Thank you.
But the city side is right in front of a bunch of duplexes, and a lot of people park on that road, and the road was it's even smaller than the road that you showed that needed to be widened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really short section, and but I was curious that how do y'all deal with when you redo a road like that, the impact to, when it's right in front of houses, right? It's not even just one person's house, it's a duplex, and you've got 10 or 20 duplexes in a row, and now you're impacting everyone's where they drive, park, everything like that. How do y'all navigate that, and how does that slow down your progress all along being able to do that road?
A little bit. So we do public outreach. So anytime we're going to be impacting anybody's property, as best we can, sometimes there's fences, sometimes we can't do that, but as best we can, we give them 2 weeks notice and then 2-day notice. Hey, we're going to be here in 2 weeks. We put signs out that say, hey, go to this website. Here has all the information of where we're going to be, how long it's going to take, the process that we're doing in front of your house, whatever that may be. So we say, hey, this is coming, and then, hey, this is coming in 2 days. We'll ask a lot of times, hey, please move your car off the road, things like that. But we try our best to inform anybody that we're asking to be inconvenienced. A lot of our processes, we aren't closing things for a whole day or really even several hours. A lot of this is pretty quick.
Oh,
and
this is not road construction, this is just maintaining.
It's both. It depends. But if we have to close something, that's a whole different level of effort. for making sure that people are aware, parking where they need to be. We will have people out there to make sure traffic, including all the driveways even, or all the cross streets, are managed. So we have a huge team of folks that'll be out there making sure the traffic isn't going the wrong way and everything else. So we try our best to make sure that everyone is aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking like it's just a matter of time at this point because it's more potholes than road. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just a matter of time until that road gets completely redone. So I was just curious what that was like.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
How do you know you're doing well?
Well, a little bit of that is objective, but what we want to do is we want to make sure that all of our roads are safe. That means you're not going to be moved around while you're driving, so that's potholing or edge raveling or something like that. We want to make sure they're wide enough. I'll tell you right now, we're not there. We have a number of our roads are too narrow. We have a number of our roads that are at a point where we can't do anything about it but rebuild. We're making efforts to make sure that is slowly bitten away. But overall, we have a pavement study done every several years. We just had one done a few years ago that says, hey, here's the quality of your pavements, at least how they drive.
So you have a 5-year plan. How are you tracking against that?
Well, do you mean as far as what was done and what wasn't done?
Yeah, like we were supposed to do X, Y, Z this year, and we didn't.
Yeah, well, the short answer is we track it throughout the year. So any project that we have that was planned, we make sure that it's either done that year or it's moved to the next year. Unless it's annexed or something like that, we don't drop roads off the program. It may shift. There's a huge amount of factors in construction that can delay a project or sometimes entirely move a project several years. But we meet with our teams constantly, whether it's our designers or construction people.
Last question, if I can. And I'm directing this at you, but I think it applies to the entire organization here. What's your safety record?
I'm not exactly sure how to answer that. Do you mean for our folks?
Yeah, do you have any oopsie daisies amongst your team? Or?
We have some very minor ones. We have a safety officer that is employed by Road and Bridge that his job is to make sure that everyone is safe. Mm-hmm. We have standard every year required safety practices for all of our operators. And that includes, and I'm going to include vehicle safety as well here, and that includes vehicle safety as well. I am not aware of any major incidents that have happened with our guys. We are well-trained folks that safety is driven into us. We don't do things that are outside of our scope, and we don't do things that are outside of our capability.
Good, thank you.
Yes, sir. I think you had a question before.
I do have a question. I don't know if you'll be able to answer it or not, but I do have this question. Do you all travel outside of the state or the county, like to other areas to see what they're doing for their roadways?
Oh, absolutely.
That can make our roadways better? And I say that because I travel extensively to different countries, and I remember traveling through Iceland one time and just driving, like, man, these roads are really, really good. And I'm like, wow, stuff's so crappy. What are they what
Yeah.
are they doing here that we're not doing there? And I think about all of the weather that they get, and I'm like, we get half of what they get, and theirs is so much better, and ours is so crappy. Why?
Well,
Or not so crappy, because I don't want to insult you.
well, I think it depends.
I'm just saying, go to Iceland. They got it made. Like, they got the answer. Like, go over there and find out what they doing.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you what they're not doing is growing. And so what really hurts our roads is heavy trucks. So the answer is yes, we do go around, and mostly it's within the state. There's a big impact on your existing environment that has to be comparable to what you're looking at. You know, like maybe Iowa's doing cool things, but we don't have anything to do with Iowa. We don't have the climate that they have. They don't have the soils that we have. They don't have the precipitation that we have. It's totally different. And so when we look around, we want to say, hey, what comparable places are doing similar things hey, that's really cool. I would like to try that. You know, I'll personally go down and say, hey, I need you to train me. What did you do? What contracts did you have in place to make sure this happened? What design plans did you need? We do that, but there's a big piece of just our existing just geography here that is unique. So half the county is built on clay. That's all that farmland that you see to the east. And then the other half, I'm very generally speaking here, is very rocky. And so even that is two different styles of construction. Because one, you have to really manage, which is the clay side, because clay shrinks and swells. You'll see bumpy, like wavy roads and stuff. That never built that way. It just happens over time. And then the other side, you don't see that as much. So you have two different efforts even there. But we do. The answer to your question is yes. We try as much as we can. I will say that Williamson County is often a destination for a lot of other counties. Hey, what do y'all do? How do y'all maintain as much as you do? We at the county, at Williamson County, do a lot of cutting edge things. We're willing to try anything. Hey, we have a research institution say, hey, we've seen this other place work. Can we try it here? And we'll say, yeah, absolutely. Let's find a pilot project. Let's try new things. So yeah, yes.
So I've got two questions. The first one is, so there's a road that's going to be closed. There's been ample notice, but I want to know why it's going to be closed. So how do I find out what's going to happen to it? What's going on?
How were you noticed? Was there a sign?
Yeah, like a sign with the light bulb letters, like road closed May 30th. And it's been up for since the beginning of May. That's great, but we're like, what are you doing to the road?
So you can either go to our website, so wilcotx. We just changed that. That's why I'm stumbling. I'm not an idiot, I promise. wilcotx.gov/roads, and that should have the information on any kind of closures or detours.
Okay.
You can also just call us and say, hey, I live on this road. What's going on here? And we should be able to answer that.
And then the second question was, I believe you mentioned y'all were responsible for signs, like road signs. Does that include historical markers?
No,
Okay.
no, I think that's a state.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I relocated here from Seattle a couple of years ago, so I was actually gonna do the opposite and commend you guys on being ahead of the growth as much as you are. I know it's painful for the people that have been here and kind of saw how fast we're growing and we're gonna continue to do that. But for me, driving up, I can't go anywhere without navigation because y'all's roads are weird. It doesn't number, I've turned it through cornfields and everything, but you guys there's something to be commendable about, or said about, I've seen the future roadmaps and the planning, and you guys are, it's impossible to keep up with the projections, but I think you guys are doing a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's painful, it's like that in traffic, an hour, I had a meeting in Seattle, or Austin this morning, but we're growing, it's just,
Yep.
you guys, I think you've done a good job at including the community and projecting as much as you can, because it all costs dollars.
Yeah, there's a lot of effort. Thank you. But then there's a lot of effort of just future planning,
Yeah.
and Adam will talk a little bit about that later. Is how do we plan for future growth? That's coming. It's here.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Is seal coating only for water?
Correct. Well, water and friction. Yes.
Because I moved from Midland a year ago, and they seal coated the heck out of all the neighborhood streets as well. And I thought it was because the heat was damaging them, because we don't have any water.
Yeah, I would imagine Midland would do it for just. Well, I guess it is a good friction surface as well. So once your road is too polished, you lose friction. It can be hard to stop, but it's a really good friction surface as well. Yes, sir.
Do you have a plan that goes out 5 years to know about what roads are going to be done, what roads are going to be coming through? I mean, Round Rock had one with Kenny, and that was planned many years ago, but still, that's a brand new road for the city to take that on. Does the county look at things like that going out 5 years?
Yes, so there's kind of two categories here. So there's the road and bridge side, and yes, we do have a 5-year plan. That is funded every year, so it's possible that those plans could change based off of funding. But then we also have the road bond program, which projects out many, many years in the future. And we march towards those through kind of the three processes is getting right of way and planning, and then we design it, and then we construct it. Those are 3 pots of money. But yes, there's a plan for each side of those.
My next question is, in the So we have that 5-year plan also, or at least try to
Yep.
do better to save money. You got gone through that, and have you implemented anything to keep your supplies ready and available?
Yes, that's a great point. Material issues is a real thing. And especially with some of the major players, which are steel and aluminum, those two things are a part of basically everything that you do, because a truck somehow had to get there, which is made of steel and aluminum, or the actual material itself is steel or aluminum, or wherever that may be. We saw the same issue of getting good materials and getting them in a reasonable time frame. From that, we probably learned a very similar lesson that City of Round Rock did, and many other cities, is we try to stock our own here. So we have a lot of this yard that comes around is stocked with material, and then we have another yard somewhere else that's stocked with bulk material, asphalts and big rock and things like that. But we do try to plan ahead and say, hey, we got 2 years down the line, 1 year down the line, we need 16 culverts. If we don't order them now, it's unlikely we're going to get them in that fiscal year, in that year. So we try that.
We have a lot more questions, but I don't want to waste everybody's time. The other one, it has to do with the young lady back here about the roads being half county, half city.
Yep.
I'm in Round Rock, so we work with the county, but we typically end up either taking the road totally, becomes our responsibility, and the county's not, does that, nothing have to do with it. So this is kind of new to me here. How did that happen, and why is the city, I'm not sure what city you're in.
Oh,
but-
I'm in Gerald, and it's probably because it's half in the city limits, half in the county.
Okay, so as for a small town like that, that is growing pretty fast,
Mm-hmm.
how did that happen? Because that's also another way the city can also grow, because we're not allowed to annex property.
Right.
But that's another way. So how did that happen, and why is it still that way then?
Adam, you may want to speak to that one.
Yeah, I will say there's been some, which sounds like you're aware of, but there's been some changes in the last 10 to 15 years on cities' ability to annex, and when they annex, what they're required to annex, as far as roadways. I could probably talk about 10 minutes on that topic, and so I'm glad to hang around maybe at the end, and I'll visit with you and anybody else that are interested on annexation and some things in Gerald and Round Rock and other places, and explain kind of the uniqueness of the way, depending on what point in time and the laws that were in place at that time, why some things may happen and kind of what it looks like today. But I think I would spend at least
I'll take a business card.
50, and I have a stack of cards here for anybody that can't stay. If you stay, I'll be happy to.
I can't, I have a
Okay.
constituents back from Round Rock back there.
The short answer is it has to do with just what the annexation laws were that existed at the time that it happened, what that law said about if you annex up to a road, what the city may be required to do, and then kind of what point in time did it happen. And there's different cases all over the counties depending on what time and what laws were in place at the time. Really trying, as we go, kind of work with our cities to clean all those up, because it's very confusing when the county has one side of the road and the city has the other. So we do try to clean those up. It's a little partnership with our cities, which most of them are pretty good about, but that's a.
Well, it behooves you to help her out then, to get that.
I was like, take the whole thing, please.
Yeah, no,
It's like 2 miles, that's it. It's not even a
there are
long
some
walk.
really odd situations all over the county. And if anybody has a specific one, I'm happy to kind of hang after, you can take a business card, we can try to address it. But we are aware of most of those and try to address them with their cities.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think, ma'am, you had one more question? It might be the last one.
Yeah, when we do have problems with our county roads, should we call? I mean, like potholes and
Mhm.
roads are breaking up real bad because of what was kind of low impact roads, county roads.
Yeah.
We have a lot of dump trucks, a lot of
Yep.
cement trucks, so, and the roads are just,
Yes.
they were never designed to take that kind of.
You're exactly right. Yeah. I mean, part of an issue of having so many miles to look at is that we rely on people like you to say, hey, there's an issue here. You may not have seen it yet. And sometimes we haven't.
Just find out. I mean, you can't be driving all day long to see.
Well, we've got over 100 guys that are out on sites every day. So they do report things in. But we rely on people like you.
How do
So you can either call us or you can send us an email. So the number is, area code's 512-943-3330.
3330
And then the email address, so you can either do that or the email address is road, R-O-A-D, admin, A-D-M-I-N, @wilcotex.gov. Got it. But yeah, either of those two is a great way for us to find out about some issues that we just haven't seen yet.
We have some low water crossings
Mhm.
and stuff that fill up with debris really bad.
Mhm.
We had that last 4 inches
Mhm.
last week. Some trees went down, everything's plugged up. There's tires that floated down. There's trees that need to be cut down that are gonna actually fall over the bridge or the crossings. I mean, it's a mess. We have campers parked out there along the road where people have taken axles off a camper and left it alongside the road, and that's been there for a month. We have.
You can call the constable on that one. They'll take care of that pretty quick. You can call the constable on that one. They'll take care of that pretty quick. But the trees and things, please let us know. There are some things we can do, some things we can't. So just by law, the road and bridge cannot work outside of our right-of-way. Nothing on private property. So if there's a tree overhanging,
This is all road ditch.
great. Yeah, that's great. Just please let us know and we can certainly take care of it. Last question. Yes, ma'am.
On the photo of County Road 282,
Mhm.
you pointed out a culvert that went under a driveway.
Yeah.
Where the driveway feeds into the road.
Yes.
Is that something y'all, the county puts in and maintains?
Not anymore. So we used to handle those, but we don't do that anymore just because of the amount of them. So the driveways will be the responsibility of the property owner.